Back to my channel. I'm the Housewife Historian, and we are here to talk the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I'm going to be talking a little bit in code today because if you watch my channel and you watch my live, yes.
Is the plane going down? Are we going to die? Why are you saying I'm sorry?
Good morning, guys. Happy Monday. I gotta get my phone charged real quick here. Getting set up for you guys. Hope everyone had an amazing weekend. It has been busy. Oh my gosh. If you are into Real Housewives, then you know it's been a busy weekend. It's been a busy couple weeks with everyone, especially with Vanderpump Rules. Good Lord, it has been busy. New Jersey, Beverly Hills, the Oscar viewing party. I had to take notes. Usually I don't have to take notes, but there was so much I had to take notes. So hope you guys are in for a good live today because we have some photographic evidence, which is my favorite thing to give you guys, of course. And I told you before that I'm going to start dropping all of my like evidence and tea and photos and stuff on my YouTube lives. I used to kind of put it on Instagram and then I would go to YouTube and do a video for you guys, but I'm going to start bringing it to YouTube first and then taking it to Instagram and Twitter and TikTok. So guys, a great way to help my channel and a free way to do it is to just hit the like button. It definitely makes a difference. I'm going to be getting with Dana Wilkie this week and also setting up a day for her to come on and chat with us as well. We had such a good live the other night that I really want to get her on my show. So let me see here, guys. If you guys, hey Kenneth, if everyone wants to just put where they are at today watching, I love that. And then let me get started. I have some photos, like I said, so I got to get logged into my other account for you guys. We're going to be talking Real Housewives of New Jersey. I uploaded just a audio from yesterday on the Real Housewives of Potomac, just like some Sunday drive chit chat type a video about some of the things that have come out, you know, about Potomac. So if you are just driving and you want to just listen to something, that would be a great video to listen to. Hey Yo-Yo, how are you? Let's talk about the Real Housewives of New Jersey. First of all, did anyone get a chance to listen to Melissa was on, she did a 2-part podcast. The first part they put on the On Display podcast, which is Melissa's. And then the second part they put on the Two T's and a Pod podcast, right? So just so you guys understand how it works, obviously, like their ratings, their views, all of that is because of the content that they upload. So my assumption is that the Two T's wanted to have Melissa on the podcast, but Melissa wanted to make sure she had an episode that week for her podcast. And so she sort of recycled, but not really, but sort of, because they did a 2-part series. So they put the first part on Melissa's podcast so that she could get views and likes and all of that. And then they put the other half on the Two T's in a Pod podcast. Now, what I have found is some old photos of Tamara and Melissa, because I think it's important for you guys to understand Melissa and Tamara's dynamic, because what started all of this was Jacqueline from the Real Housewives of New Jersey. She spoke out on Instagram and she ended up going on the Two T's in a podcast, right? So then like a week later, not even a week, like after the podcast aired that following Monday, Tamara was online apologizing to Melissa with, "Oh, so sorry. Tamara didn't do her due diligence in investigating what really happened." And basically Melissa called Jacqueline a liar and said everything that she said on Teddi and Tamara's podcast was a lie. And she was almost kind of shitty with Tamara and especially Teddi about the fact that she feels like it wasn't an accurate description. Sorry, guys. I told you I've been sick. I'm thirsty. Drinking Red Bull this morning. Anyways, so I felt like there were points in the podcast where Melissa was a little bit aggressive, right? Towards Teddi more so than Tamara. And like I said, I found these photos of Tamara and Melissa from like, oh, I don't even know. I'll have to try to Google to see how old they are. Brandy's in them and she looks really beautiful and put together and youthful. So I think that they're a little bit older. That's why I want to show them to you guys. Again, I want to understand that Tamara and Melissa are probably a little bit more closer, or they have some sort of loyalty between the two of them, only because they've known each other for a very, very long time. Also, guys, let's not forget that Teresa was actually on the Two T's podcast as well. I don't even know, like a couple of months ago, they were so nice to her face. They were so nice on the podcast. And then like a week later, the next guest on their podcast was asked something about who they thought the best overall, housewife was out of all of the franchises. And they answered with Teresa, and Teddi like acted like, oh, like she was very rude about it. And I think Teresa even may or may not have addressed it on her podcast, but it was pretty bad. And even David from Behind the Velvet Rope said, well, if you guys like never want to have another person return to your podcast, that's a great way to do it. Like have them on, be nice to their face, and then talk shit. Kenneth says, please just do everything possible to let the truth come out and hold Melissa accountable. Thanks. Yes, Kenneth, we have to, because there were still, that's why I want to know if you guys listen to the podcast, because there were so many inconsistencies. That's why I wanted to do a video and kind of break it down for you guys, because another huge inconsistency, she says, well, Melissa wouldn't put her brother on the visitation list. She had to put him on the visitation list in the first 6 months. She didn't put him on the visitation list. That's a complete lie. When you are incarcerated in a state or federal institution, there's a process at which a person from the outside must send in information like their driver's license, proof of residency, and an application to be approved through the prison to visit an inmate. If you're an inmate, you don't have access to the internet, you don't have access to print paperwork, you don't have access to a copy machine, right? The outside people have to go online, print out the prison's application, fill it out accordingly, and then provide the information required, i.e. driver's license, utility bill, send that in to the inmate's case manager, which that could take weeks. That gets put in her file, and she approves the visitors for all of the inmates that are on her caseload, which could be a lot. Okay. So it's not always a quick, easy process to have somebody approved. And it certainly doesn't have anything to do with the inmate, because the inmate doesn't have any control over the person filling out the application, getting the application to them, the application getting sent back into the prison. None of that. That's all has to be taken care of from the outside, from the person that wants to come to the prison and visit. Okay. Inmates don't just get to call up and say, I want to schedule a visit with my brother, right? Hey, Camille. Oh, I love Camille. So once she put him on the list, why did he only go once? Okay, Mama, thank you. That's a great question. Why did he only go once after she put him on the list? Camille, love her. Yo-Yo says, yes, he addressed it. She was mad at Teddi for talking bad after having her on. Yes, absolutely. Kenneth, she twists everything, even if it's what she says. It's really terrible, because again, guys, all of it has to be done from the outside. So if anyone wanted to come visit Teresa, hypothetically, in prison, this is why it's important when they go to prison, they take money for their commissary and such, because and nothing in the prison system is fast. Nothing. You wait in line to wait in line, because if you guys don't know, like our prisons are overpopulated, right? It's like an $80 billion a year industry at this point with the private prisons. But regardless, nothing in the prison system is fast. Okay. So it's important that, like, if you're going to send in an application, you got to make sure you have everything together. You can't send in the application, then send your driver's license in, and then send something else in. It's got to all come together to that case manager, and then they have to approve you. If he had any charges, probation, civil cases, those things have to be listed. Did you know before you can work inside an institution, they actually run a background check on you because of the fact that you can be so vulnerable to be taken advantage of within an institution, that if they feel that you have too much debt, that they don't want you working around people that could hypothetically take advantage of you, and hustle you by paying you money because you're in debt. So a lot of times on the applications, it'll say, has the person ever been in jail? Has the person ever been incarcerated? Are they a felon? Are they on probation? When was their last incarceration date? And I'm not sure how much of civil cases are really relevant for an application. It probably wouldn't affect it. Would he have to talk about it? Possibly. But regardless, the inmate, Teresa couldn't call up to, like, visitations in a whole nother building, because visitation would be a high security area, because you have inmates mixing with people from the outside, right? So they don't want things to be exchanged between people, right? This is how we get cell phones, tobacco, those things make their way in through visitation a lot of the times, okay? Visitors have to be dressed appropriately, right? They have a list as well. There are, you could drive, you could fly from California to New York to visit Teresa in prison, and if you had holes in your jeans and they didn't want to let you in, you ain't got to go in. You ain't going in. You ain't dressed appropriately. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Camille. You are so sweet and so generous. Thank you. Wonderful super chat. Thank you, Camille. Um, Miss Lee says, please like the video. Thank you, Miss Lee. So the prison system, they really they make their own rules a lot of the time. So if you show up to visitation not dressed appropriately to go in, they simply will not let you in. That's how it goes. Now, with people who have legal visits, oftentimes the attorneys, they don't have to go through an approval system because they're part of a legal team. Ethically, we assume that they're not going to go in and exchange contraband with inmates, yada yada yada, right? But again, for production to come there, that would have been approved. All of that would have went through the outside to the inside in the prison. So for Melissa to be saying that she wouldn't add him to the visitation list is complete bullcrap. All of you guys, if you guys don't believe me, go online to the federal prison and just look up how to visit an inmate in federal. I forget which one she was in. Wasn't it like Dulberry or something? It was the same one that um it was the same one that Martha Stewart was in. And I'm going to tell you guys right now. It will say, print out this visitation list. Oh, visitation dress code. I'll give you guys the dress code. Do you guys want to see it on your screen? Or do you just want me to go over it with you guys? Because I can. Definitely visitation list. Definitely visitation dress code. All of those things, again, you have to do from the outside to get into the inside. So Melissa, blatant lie here, complete lie. Now the county, hypothetically, yes, the county is a little bit different, county to county. You got small counties. If you're in a small county and somebody comes to visit you, you got to put them on your list. That is, yes, that is but not in state and federal institutions. Absolutely no way. It has to be done from the outside. Another thing, this is where I'm going to give Teddi points. I never give Teddi any kudos, but she asked Melissa a really great question. She said, Melissa, do you think, basically, Melissa says that she went onto her Facebook, which this is so funny, guys. Y'all are gonna love this, because you guys don't even know how hard I be working behind the scenes. Seriously, you guys don't know, and I can't give it to you all at once because it's so much, and I got a lot of stuff off of somebody's Facebook that hadn't updated it in a while. And when I started to slowly sprinkle those posts throughout my Instagram, the Facebook got cleaned up, right? Everything's now up to speed. And all of a sudden, Melissa was like, oh my gosh, I was going through my Facebook and I found all of these pictures from 2016 when the girls were at our shore house all summer long, hanging out, yada, yada, yada. And first of all, people were saying that Melissa, we need to see when Teresa went to prison, because I thought she went in like February after Christmas. Maybe let's hold on. Teresa Giudice, because Melissa's saying that she has all these photos of the girls from her shore house in 2016. But it looks like she turned herself in on January 5th, 2015. And she only did a year, right? I think she was sentenced to 16. She was sentenced to a 15-month sentence at the Federal Correction Institute in Danbury, Connecticut. Sorry, excuse me, Connecticut, not Maryland. And it was at 3 a.m. on Monday, January 5th, because they let her stay, and spend the holidays with the kids. So we have Melissa in a couple of lies here again, right? One of the lies being, well, first of all, Teresa was sentenced on October 2nd, 2014, and then to serve the time behind bars. And they pled guilty March 2014. The 39 count indictment came out in 2013. So again, guys, this is why I tell you, from 2013 to 2015, they were getting indicted, they were going through audits, they were going to court, they were getting attorneys, they were getting retainer fees, they were getting filmed. All this shit's hitting the news every day. It's headlines. And meanwhile, Joe and Melissa are doing these little scams on the side, and they're picking up maybe on the Daily Mail, maybe here, maybe there, but nothing like these federal indictments and court dates. If you guys remember, Juicy Joe's dad, he actually mooned the paparazzi one day after court in the car from the back seat. It was hilarious. I'm just saying. So anyways, this is discrediting Melissa again because of the fact that Teresa turned herself in January 2015. She did a year, right? So in 2016, she was home. So even if Melissa does have pictures, thank you, K Mama. Just because Melissa has pictures from 2016, that Teresa was already home. Okay, so maybe this corroborates that everything was good. Oh, here we go. She left on the 23rd of December in 15. I remember that because she got to be with the girls for Christmas. Yep. So I think that's how they do it on purpose. Like they did that with Jen Shaw too, right? So they let her spend the holidays with her kids and then turn herself in February. And I also think that they did the same thing with Joe, because when Joe came home, or when Teresa came home, Joe and Teresa got to spend a couple months together before Joe turned himself in again, I think after the holidays. So anyways, makes no sense because that would have been the year that Teresa was actually home from prison, 2016. Now, yes, Gia says we were at the shore house all the time. There are some photos. They had a good year. Melissa says that Gia was coming around. She was bringing her friends around. And that Gia says in her confessional, everything changed when Louis came around. And so Melissa and Joe are really trying to take this narrative and kind of use that as a reason to why they're not getting along, right? And they said basically like, are the producers going to tease us that you guys are going to make up this whole season, because we felt like, okay, there might be some reconciliation after we saw Teresa call Joe. But then when we saw the conversation between Louis and Gia and Gabriella and Teresa, you could tell like we were far from reconciliation, because now Louis, of course, has to find his way in what his place is in this already functioning dysfunctional K-Mom, I completely agree with you. I don't think that's what Gia meant. I don't think so either, right? I don't think so either. I think that sometimes people like to be needed. Number one, there's certain people, and this is a lot in dysfunctional families, like if you are doing good and you may want a relationship maybe with somebody that you love very much, but they have a need to be needed, and so therefore maybe their time and attention goes towards somebody else in your family that doesn't have their shit together, and you're like over here like I have it together and I just want to hang out and do stuff, but you're so busy helping them that you don't even really have time for me, and kind of sort of thing. But because sometimes people want to be needed, they need to be needed, and sometimes I feel like that's how Joe Gorga kind of might be with Teresa. Like he likes that Teresa needed her. He likes that Teresa you know, went to prison, and him and Melissa are like, you know, stepping in and they're helping. And Melissa told us that this was another thing, guys. I hope you guys listened. I took notes. Melissa told us the day that Teresa went to prison, Joe called her, and that Teresa told him he was the reason she was going to prison, and she hung up on him, right? Why would she do that? Why would she do that? Unless if what everyone has been saying the whole time is that maybe the rumor about Joe's secretary making phone calls about Juicy Joe got back to Teresa and she heard about them, because, you know, that was always the rumor, guys. Yo, if you're still in the room, comment, please. Yo knows a lot of tea about this too. Like, sorry, doing quick math for her prison time was around January 2015. Okay, mama, yes, I heard Joe was the one that turned her in. Yo. Yes, I heard that about Teresa hanging up on Joey. Yeah, I mean, we were hearing rumors that allegedly, Barbara, the rumor allegedly was that Joe, well, there's several rumors, but we think at the beginning of the show, if you guys remember, when they showed Juicy Joe in his office, it said G&G. So a lot of us kind of assume that Gorga and Giudice did have some sort of business together that they were doing together. Regardless, somewhere along the line, allegedly a secretary enters the equation and is team Melissa and team Joe, and made phone calls to people about Teresa and Joe Giudice, right? And then we also, which is all alleged, okay, I would swear, I would hope that her brother would have nothing to do with that. I don't know about Melissa. I question her moral compass sometimes, but I also know that people who are connected don't typically go to the police and turn in other people that are connected, unless if they're literally ratting out somebody because they got in trouble. Like, I don't think that Al and Caroline Manzo, who are connected people, would ever go and turn Juicy or anyone in, because that's not their style, right? If they were pissed at Joe and Teresa for something they did, they would take care of it in a different way. They wouldn't turn them into the feds, right? So it kind of seems a little amateur, not something that a mob person would necessarily do unless they were in trouble. I heard that Joe was talking to the feds about Joe and Teresa. K Mama says that as well. My theory, the lawyer at the party got intel from Melissa and Kim G to get intel on Teresa, which led to her legal woes. Camille, I think that that's a great theory too, as well. We can talk about that lawyer. There were some articles that just came out. Sorry guys, I got to charge my phone. There were articles that just came out about her. I think her name's Monica. Is that it, guys? Monica. And like her correlation to everything that happened with Teresa and Joe. And even Juicy Joe said, you know, building that house, when people started to see that they were getting money, he said he'd never been sued so many times in his life. He'd never been sued so many times in his life until they built that house, because they were being flashy with their money, right? We know that. I also remember the guy that Juicy Joe allegedly owed money to that was friends with Chris, Jacqueline's Chris, and he was like Chris was of course trying to make everything good. But really, what had happened was Joe told him to F off and he was never paying him. Yo-Yo says, every time we saw them together on the show, it was because Bravo pushed the narrative in front of the cameras. But the Giudices didn't want Gorgas around because they were in the middle of their legal battle alongside Monica. I don't know how to say that last name. Chacon, who Gorgas did know. Good memory, says Camille. Yes, that is true. And the articles just came out about Monica recently, about her relationship to them and how she knew them and how all of that played out, and the Christmas party and all of that. Oh yeah. Ooh, there's a Reddit on it. Do you guys want to, I mean, I know it's kind of early. Do you want me just to scan it for you guys? Let me see from where this Reddit's from. I love a good old Reddit. Let's see here. 3 years ago, somebody was calling this out. 3 years ago, somebody said this. Let's see some of these comments. Um, Regardless, I think that Melissa kind of told on herself, though. Don't you guys think? Why would Melissa hang up on her brother the day she's about to go to prison for a year? That doesn't make any sense, does it? Let's see here. Okay, a couple of other things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. I wanted to talk to you guys about Melissa. Damn it. Okay, well, one, talking about Gia, if you guys know, Gia came out and did like a little video of her kind of just like, when they do those TikToks where they put a voice over it and they mock the voice. And it was like the voice of Teresa saying, like, I'm from Patterson. It was a cute video, but people are like, it's towards Melissa and yada, yada, yada. And so then that forces us to address, the difference between the Gore Antonia and the four Judice girls because of the way that they were raised. Like, people made a lot of comments. If you saw the scene, Melissa, her daughter wouldn't even drive through the drive-through, right? Should have pulled over. Melissa takes in the seat and she drives. And there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, you want to protect and love your children from everything, but hard times do build character. And they had a very different, I don't want to say better or worse, because I think sometimes, like I said, hard times build character, teaches you really great life lessons, life on life's terms. I don't think then, you have a better idea how the world really actually works. And I think that you can see that in Teresa's children. And so it unfortunately causes a really, people to compare Antonia and to compare Gia and the girls because they're so close in age, but at the same time, they both had very different childhoods, right? We have Gia who's working with like an attorney, a pretty badass woman attorney who is working on legal issues with people that go through extradition or are, kicked out of the country like her dad was. That's pretty elevated. You have to be a mature minded, young, driven woman to do something like that. And it's not that Antonio may not do the same exact thing. I just think that they've had different childhoods. They've had been brought up a little bit differently. And I think in Teresa's household, she gives her children a little bit more of an opinion because they have been through so many different life circumstances. I think that Gia ran their house like she was a mother when Teresa was away. And she even said at Christmas time that Gia was like, oh my God, Mom, I don't know how you did this. You wrapped all the gifts for all the kids. Like, Teresa has a different relationship with her children where I think that she just gives them a little bit more validation because they've earned it, right? They've earned it. Does Gia earn a little bit more of an opinion if she is at home taking over mom's spot for an entire year? Like, take Melissa out of her house for a whole year and lay all that on top of Antonia and see what that looks like a year down the road. It's going to be a different girl. It's going to be a way different Antonia, right? So it's kind of like, yeah, you don't like to see kids involved in mess and family and drama. And is Melissa a great mom for saying, hey, get up from the table while, before I trash your aunt? Sure. But do we think she does that all the time? And no, we don't. That's for the cameras. Her kids know a lot. That's why even Teresa said it, you can tell the way they look at her. I've seen this in other families before. Mothers have a lot of influence on their children, and sometimes they speak really freely in front of their children, and definitely helps to develop the child's perspective on that person. And you can feel it when someone's talked shit about you to their kid. Like, and one day their kid's cool with you, like the little one, and then one day they're kind of looking at you sideways. We can pick up on that. So I think that just because the cameras were there, Melissa may have asked them to get up, but I don't think that most of the time her kids don't hear and know what is going on. Camille said Melissa realized how indifferent her presence was at the party. She was crying because she lost control of the narrative. I agree. K Mama says, Yojo, I did notice that she looked bad even though she was getting her hair and makeup done before the party. I thought so too. And then with the crocodile tears, perfect to cause people to throw a pity party for her. And it was so crazy because of the fact, oh, I like this comment, K Mama. She said that Joe and Melissa brought the kids in. Melissa even competes with how she mothers Antonia with T and the girls. I agree, 100%, 100%. Absolutely. Maybe she shagged her lover in the car. I love that shag. Oh man, I know, guys. Like this whole Margaret telling Melissa, leave your husband for a baseball player. Well, we surely didn't see that coming. Margaret don't like to hear that. She was pissed off. But you know what? It says something, because how come it's okay that Margaret can go around and say, leave your husband for a baseball player, but Teresa, who is his sister, she can't say nothing. She's not allowed to say anything. But Margaret can go around and tell her to leave her husband. That makes no sense to me. Margaret is falling down slowly and surely. She is. Even the two T's, Tamara and Teddy, making great points. A couple of them being that we're not seeing anything personal from Margaret. We're not seeing anything personal from Margaret. So that means that she's got to push the story. She's got to be the Giselle who pushes the story, doesn't give us anything personal, and is basically a silent producer, but not a silent producer, right? That's what we're getting from Margaret. She's moving the storylines. We're not really getting anything personal from her. All that we know are the headlines, headline after headline after headline of lawsuits, default on another lawsuit. Mainly over the home. If you guys have looked into any of that, it's really actually kind of sad, because it's not like it's not like they didn't pay the bank, they didn't pay the corporation, they didn't pay the government, they didn't pay the man. Like, they didn't pay a nice couple who loaned them like cash, a lot of cash. Monthly installments was a payment plan. They just didn't pay them. Brenda, when Melissa was talking about Antonia about not holding grudges, it was very telling that she didn't even look at her straight in the face. Trey did not put his name on the visitation list. I remember that even being said on the show. Trey did not put his name on visitation list. I remember that even saying on the show. Well, I mean, she could put his name on the list, but if he doesn't send in a visitation form, if he doesn't send in his driver's license and doesn't show proof of residency and go through her case manager to be approved, typically if I don't say like I'm in prison and I don't put my cousin on my list, when my cousin sends in all of his paperwork to my case manager is going to call for me and come over and say, hey, your cousin sent in all this information, we're good, we're going to add him. Yeah, okay, fine. So it's more, the step really has to be taken from the outside person, because again, we have to understand the inmate doesn't have access they don't have access to an internet. They don't have, I mean, like an internet as in like they can go look up their appeals in the library, but they don't have the internet, and they certainly don't have access to visitation forms that are just being that their case manager prints up and gives to them. It's not that, it's the outside. It's actually, it's expensive to be in prison. It's not free. But we'll see what happens, guys. That was just my intake. I mean, I could be wrong. But I'm just telling you guys, go on to the Danbury website and look to see what the visitation process looks like. And I will bet any of you there's a visitation form with instructions on copy of driver's license and proof of residency. Samantha B says, it doesn't matter. All the spots were taken up by Mom and Joe with the girls. That's very possible, but he could have scheduled a separate visit. So the prison has visitation times and days, and you on the outside call in and schedule the visit according to your schedule, right? And then you let the inmate know, because the inmate has no way of knowing that a visit's been scheduled. They're not going to know that you even scheduled a visit unless if they talk to you on the phone or you write them and tell them, because you could literally just show up for a visit and they would call for the inmate to come and the inmate would have no idea. So yes, sometimes people will have a day-long visit because their family will travel there, maybe from another state, and half of the family will go in for the first half of the visit, maybe from 9 to 11. Then they break, they do a count on the entire institution, and then they bring girl back to visitation or male, and then the rest of the family will enter in and complete the visit, the 2 hour long visit. There's also exceptions that can be made, just like production, that would be an exception. Any sort of filming that they did without other inmates around, that's going to be an exception. So just like exceptions for production and for interviews and such, they also make exception for people in hardships who have family that are traveling to see them, kids, extra people at visits. These are things that can be approved. So an extra person, yeah, but he could have scheduled a different visit. And Yoga says he never went back to see Trey again. She was away for another 3 to 4 months after he filmed. That's why Trey was let down by Kathy and Rosie, because they never tried to visit her or write her. Yep. And Yo-Yo, I'm going to make a really great point here. I love that, because here's the thing. Like, if you're in prison, everyone knows where you're in prison, right? Everyone knows where Teresa Giudice was at for however long, 15 months, right? And they have a little bit of taste because they are connected family. What's understood doesn't need to be said, right? I tried to remember, if you guys remember the VH1 show that was Mob Wives, right? And if you remember Big Ange and them, they would always talk about people being in prison. It was not uncommon for people to go away for a couple of years here and there. And so prison doesn't sound so outrageous to maybe them as it might to another family who's never experienced anyone being incarcerated or in jail or anything. But they know and understand that the inmate doesn't have any resources. They are in an institution. So everything as writing, visitation, all of that, it falls on the person who is on the outside. Okay. Like, they have to send you money to call them. They have to put money on their phone account for you to call them. Even Jen Shaw, she went into the federal prison, and I told you guys, people were trying to say I was a liar because I said she would have to write down her contact information in her Bible or her Quran to take into the institution, because you don't just walk up into prison with your cell phone and all your phone numbers and all your addresses, because you're surely going to need it for the next 6 years, right? What do? You're supposed to memorize all of your friends and family's closest addresses and phone numbers. How many phone numbers do you know off the top of your head right now? If you were to go somewhere and had no contacts and had to call somebody, would you know anyone's phone number? No. So again, like, if she's in prison, you gotta write her with your address. Send her some envelopes. Ask her what she needs. When she's going to call, you will put money on the phone. Now they have like a digital email sort of system. But they have electronic stamps that you have to buy. It's not free. And obviously, if you're in prison, you don't have an income. You have like $13 a month in state pay, which is nothing. So it falls on the responsibility of the people on the outside to provide the money to even have contact with them. Phone calls aren't free. Emails aren't free. Every time you send an email, it's a stamp, right? So the people on the outside have all of that responsibility on them if they want to communicate with somebody who is locked up in an institution. And therefore, Teresa knew that. She knew that they knew how the F to get a hold of her. And she also knew that everyone knew that these had to be some of the darkest days of her entire life, thinking about going to prison and leaving her kids and doing it on camera. So if at any time someone was like, I want to get right with Teresa, she's got to be going through the worst time of her life right now, that I'm going to reach out, the time would have been then, not after she came home. So I am with Teresa on telling them to. Also, guys, I have some really great stuff on Kathy's husband. I'm going to give it to you guys first, of course, not in this video, but stay tuned. I was just kind of waiting because they've been kind of getting brought up a lot here and there. And I want to share it with you guys because he is, woo, Kathy's husband. Y'all, we didn't know, okay? We did not know about what was really going on over there because oh, wait, I don't know. What did I do? I hope I didn't hide something. Hi, Deb. She's lived so many lives in 10 years, and she never complains. Never. She never ever complains. Ever. Ever. Um, that actually, you're 100% right. So that's the visitation whole spiel. That was a lie. The 2015, 2016 lie. Let's see here. Teddy made up a great point too. When they did the filming, Teresa checks in. Melissa was like, her Teddy goes, "But you guys got paid, right?" And she's like, "Well, yeah, we got paid, but nobody got paid like Teresa got paid." Well, my God, Melissa, I thought that you were doing it to help Teresa and help put food on the table, right? Isn't that what she told us? And then she's like, "But nobody got paid like Teresa got paid." I thought you wanted her to get paid. I thought you guys were doing that out of the kindness of your heart and that the paycheck was just a bonus. I mean, think about that. And then not to mention Margaret going to Teresa's wedding. She's making money. She's getting paid to be at her wedding. She writes her a check and then starts talking shit about Teresa cashing the check she wrote too soon. You mean the check that you wrote her out of the money that she basically made for you? Because if it weren't for her wedding, you wouldn't even be getting a paycheck. You should have donated it, Margaret. In fact, people were talking and we were saying like we would love to see Teresa, like whatever much money Margaret gave her, like have it in an envelope and give it to those poor people that loaned her and Joe like almost $1 million in cash and they never paid them back. I never liked Trey's goofy cousins. They came with smoke for Trey. I mean, I thought Kathy had a good heart. She was just, so like nurturing. I really did think that she had a good heart, and she may still. But I think that she let like money and fame and attention go bad. I think Rosie was probably the most authentic out of all of them, and I loved him and her and Juicy Joe's relationship together. But I think that Kathy's husband, there was rumors about him allegedly, I don't want to say stealing from Exxon, but maybe taking a little bit off the top from Exxon. I don't know if that's true or not. Like I said, guys, his Twitter was a train wreck. I got screenshots of it before he cleaned that up too, guys. Every time I get on to something good, they figure me out and then they go clean it. But I always get it beforehand, so I always post that when I'm like cleaning out my closet, my photo closet. Okay. Then we had to talk about the fact that Melissa also says, the leaked text messages. Tamara goes, I hate leaked text messages. Who leaked the text messages? And of course, Melissa's like, oh, well, Teresa and Louis leaked the text messages. Okay. But actually, Melissa, you leaked the first text message, right? To production. Because, right? The first text message we saw about this whole thing was a text message that Melissa leaked to production. If production would have went to Teresa and said, do you have any more to add to this conversation? I'm sure Teresa would have been happy to provide the screenshots that she leaked on the internet, right? That then production could have aired Melissa's and then Teresa's all together in one episode and we could have seen it together. But because Melissa gave the text message to production behind Teresa's back, it didn't give Teresa the opportunity to respond with her text messages, right? And just show the rest of the thread. So she took it upon herself to take it to the internet. And Melissa didn't like that. That's the kind of shit that Melissa, I think, has been doing for a very long time that we are unaware of. Because had Teresa not released the text messages, what kind of narrative would viewers have been left with? If we didn't know that there was a whole entire thread after the text message that Melissa gave production that was, hey, the birthday, I need your address. Here's the photo of the 10 pairs of shoes I bought my nephew that I'm going to ship to you because I've never been to your house in the 2 years that you've lived there. I don't even know your freaking address. Easter, birthday, like there was a lot of conversation in between, right? So had nobody saw that, nobody knew that, we would only know the narrative that Melissa messaged Teresa after the reunion and said, we're good. We don't got to fake it. Let's just move on. And all the viewers would have thought that Teresa just never responded and that Melissa reached out to her and she never responded, which we know is a lie, is complete bullshit. Complete bullshit. So do you guys kind of see now, like, how that really changes people's perspective, right? Because, like, a reasonable person would be like, well, that sounds really reasonable that Melissa, reached out to Teresa after the reunion and everything. And at least she reached out. Teresa could have responded. That's what I would have thought, right? I would have thought that was really reasonable. Yo-Yo says, yes, Melissa is the one who had an army with her sisters. I got stuff on the sisters. I'm not gonna go crazy, but I am going to, like, introduce you guys to them because there is so much coming up about the sisters and I didn't know much about them. And, like, I like the one. I think I would be friends with her. I'm not talking shit about the sisters, but I definitely think that, of course, everything with Teresa and Melissa, they're definitely team Melissa because that's their sister. But I want to introduce you guys and show you some things that I found. Anyways, yes, Melissa is the one who had an army with her sisters. Yes, the sergeants all the way from season 3. They wanted to be on the show and had people working overtime to trash Trey on all platforms. This is true. They were allegedly showing up on the show with, like, they were showing up to a lot of events with Melissa. There was allegedly, like, a lot of stuff getting leaked. Storylines were getting leaked. But I think originally the sisters started out as liking Teresa. They were friends with her. That's why at the christening, her and the sister got into it. If you guys remember, Teresa and the sister got into it because I think that in the beginning, the sisters liked Teresa. There were tweets that I don't have right now in front of me, but I know you guys have seen lots of old tweets, and some of them were Melissa's sisters saying, "Hey, we were at the shore this weekend with Teresa Giudice. We had, my sister's sister-in-law. We had so much fun. People were coming up and asking for autographs." Like, really sweet tweets about Teresa and her getting on the show and the Real Housewives. But when Melissa got on the show, all of that, I think, really changed. Lots and lots of rumors that Bravo told Melissa, like, we don't want them at these events anymore. Things are getting leaked. They were also allegedly doing, like, deals, like money deals for, like, to, like, sell stuff or whatever, off of the, big sister to Melissa Gorga thing. So that's allegedly why, if you guys noticed, they come to events. They were at Melissa and Joe's the last really big shore party, the pink party. They were there, but they just were not filmed at all. So exactly, I never felt for a decade as if Melissa lights the fans. She's the worst at flipping the narrative, gaslights fans. Absolutely. I think you was correct that Melissa has had a long time to build a military behind the keyboards on Instagram and Twitter, because again, from 2013 to, like, 17, Teresa was dealing with federal cases, federal indictments, her going to prison, Joe going to prison. How could you have time to be online doing all this mess? There's no way, right? So there was that. Also, you guys are gonna think this is funny. Camille says, if Melissa is smart, she would have used the lifeline Aiden gave her this season. That would have been a great way to reunite with Trey and turn on Marge, who is a snake in the grass. I agree with you, Camille, 1,000%. I think that Melissa is screwing herself as well. I think Bravo threw her a lifeline with Danielle and the whole mirroring of the situation of the brother that's not speaking to the family that has the sister-in-law. Marge is, I really just think people are, let's talk about Jen Fessler. What are your guys' thoughts about Jen Fessler? Because it's like the cast is just raging, like, oh, we love her. She's great. She's comic relief. She's so funny. She's so this. She's so that. Yada, yada, yada. What do you guys think? I don't think she's that funny. That's just me. She has the party at her house. She gets upset at the yelling. She's saying that she has neighbors. Teresa mentions that they have 6 acres in the middle of this fight. The Aiden Lifeline would give Melissa redemption. Camille's right. Hold on. She's got a good. Where did that go? Camille, where did your comment go? Oh, yeah. The Aiden Lifeline would have given Melissa redemption and locks her in for another season. But no, she was scrambling over there with Teddi. I agree with you 100% because I don't. Melissa, this goes back, guys. I'm telling you guys. I'm telling you. Jennifer Aiden was going to put Melissa on blast when she went to film that lunch with her. I just know she was. And she changed her mind because she listened to her moral compass, but she let Melissa know without letting her know. We all know. She told people, right? So she told Laura Lee Jensen. Who else did she tell, Melissa? Because we all know that she's telling you to leave your husband for a ball player. And Melissa was like, no. Then all of a sudden she had to admit it. And Melissa scurried the F out of that lunch because she didn't know what to do. She was not expecting that. But Camille, you're 1,000% right. She should have switched teams, made right with Jennifer, made right with Teresa, and she would have been guaranteed another spot on the show. And then BravoCon never would have happened because, guys, I almost feel like Bravo wants that to go away because it was so bad. It was so bad, guys. I was in that hotel that weekend. I think it's the Great Gansevoort. It's fancy. Okay, it was all Bravo people. It was busy in there at night. I mean, even though it was late at night, it was busy. And the way that it was like set up when you would walk in, like your check-in would kind of be to the left, like tucked back, and then to the right was like all like the waiting and yada yada yada, and then you would kind of keep going back, and then there was like this hallway to the left, and that's where like the 4 sets of elevators were. So when you're waiting on elevators, you're waiting like it was close. You know how some hotels there's like an elevator on this wall and then on another wall, and no, it was like tucked away and like a hallway almost with like 4 big elevators. Obviously, it was a big space. It's a big hotel. So for them to be screaming from the corner of the elevator hallway all the way over here to almost near the doors and the front desk-ish area to the right is wild. And I think that Bravo had to have been embarrassed. I just feel that in my soul. I can't help it. I don't think that's the only incident by any means. I think that, I don't know. I just have a feeling like everyone there wanted special treatment. Like we had came from the comedy club in downtown New York, so it only took us a couple of minutes to get to the Gansevoort. And they had, I think, kind of closed the rooftop bar at that point because it was a little bit late. But Melissa and Joe like had their entourage of people, and there was a group of us, and somehow they opened up and let us up there. So, and there just seemed to be a lot of different incidences that I saw that it seemed like there was people wanting like they just took over the freaking hotel. I mean, it was like Bravo people just took over the hotel. Bravo people, their spouses, their stylists. That's how it was. Jen Fessler, for a rude awakening about Marge, she only knows Margaret for 3 years, so actually she doesn't know her at all. Thank you, Barb. That's a great freaking point. Camille, Melissa get out of her own way to align with Aiden and Trey and turn on Marge means the other team will spill her tea. Yep, plus Melissa will find Trey and Aiden boring. She likes messy friends. She likes friends that like feed her. The friend of with the ED may take the Aiden Lifeline route. Time will tell. I see her side eyeing Marge. Really? Do you? That's interesting. And their ultimate goal is to take down the queen, which is, we know it's impossible, but kudos to them because they keep trying. I don't know about Marge. I don't think it's going to go very much well for her. I think she almost, if you guys look back, like she kind of used her mom for a storyline too. Don't you guys think? Like we saw a lot of her mom. We saw a lot of her childhood. A lot of her talking about her childhood with her mom. Like I think maybe when she wrote the book, And there were also a lot of scenes where she made her mom cry, and she would talk about her childhood and basically how messed up it was. And her mom, really had to explain that she was a single mom in the 70s and she was a hippie probably. Um Trey's a phoenix and she rises from the ashes. She is very resilient. And I think, Camille, if any of you guys are watching Real Housewives of Miami, people don't know what to do with resilient people, right? Because it's not that we're confident. It's not always that we're confident. We're just confident and that we're always going to be able to get back up because we know, because we've been knocked down so many times, so harshly, that if you can come out of that, you can come out of anything. And I think that not everyone has that trait. I don't know if it's a good trait or a bad trait, because sometimes you gotta go through a lot to become resilient like that. But I think when people see that, viewers see it, they don't always know how to take it. And I think that's sort of what we're seeing with Alexia in the Real Housewives of Miami, with the girls and everything that she's been through. I mean, I was reading about, when her son had that accident, he was only like 13 years old. He was in a car with another kid that was like a 16-year-old driver, and he was only like 13, and he didn't speak for 4 months. Alexia, Real Housewives of Miami, her son, yeah, for 4 months he didn't speak, even after he was out of the coma. So, I mean, that would just be life changing. It's like prison, but in a completely different way. So I think that sometimes we do see these women who are super duper resilient, and because they know that nothing is going to take them down because everything they've been through, other women don't know how to relate to that, or they don't know how to understand it or perceive it. And sometimes I think Jennifer and Teresa sort of have that because of their backgrounds in a strange way. I don't know. I like Jennifer. I feel like she's having a rough season for some reason. She does look just like she is having a hard time. And maybe it's all the physical stuff because she had like the ankle and the foot. Um, but she doesn't have enough help at home, or her parents, or something. I don't know. She just seems like she's struggling. Like, I think she was late when she got there. She had to like drop her kid, and somebody forgot this and forgot that. And maybe she just needs a little bit of like an assistant or a stylist or something. I don't know if they do that in Jersey, but that's just my opinion. Then of course, a friend of might have known her boyfriend, Marge, pushed for her demotion. Oh yeah, for sure. Jennifer just needs self-esteem. She's great. I love Jennifer. She does a great job of defending herself. She is gorgeous and beautiful. I just feel like just to me, it seems like she has a lot on her plate right now. When I look at her, like, I feel like I can see that she just feels like, I don't know, she's a lot going on. Jen and Bill were blindsided by Margaret. I agree. Any old scab picked at, it hurts more. Margaret cared nothing about the kids. She's a snake. I completely agree. And I think that they do have a great relationship. And I think that sometimes healing, sometimes it has to get worse before it gets better, right? That is like marriage and life, and it's freaking hard. And that's why people don't stay married, because it is hard and you have to forgive in a marriage. Okay, it's just, what do you personally want to be able to forgive and not forgive, right? Like, I may not care that my fiance, I don't know, I don't know. He could be, maybe, what if he's a cheater, but he makes good money? Or what if he is home every night, but he plays his PlayStation too much? Or he works too much? Or he doesn't work enough? Or like, it's just like anything else, right? We have to rate our spouses pros and cons, and what I'm willing to work with and what I'm not willing to work with, right? Like, he doesn't hit me but he cheats on me, or he doesn't hit me or cheat on me but he goes to the bar every Friday and blows his paycheck. I don't know, like, it's their relationship. I feel bad that that happened on national television. I think that their children suffered. I think that their family suffered. But I also think that sometimes, again, things get worse before they get better. And I think that Jennifer and Bill are amazing. They're a great couple. I just think Jennifer has 5 kids, elderly parents, a husband who works all of the time, and then the housewives on top of it. So I think she's really just probably trying to be super mom right now. And maybe she just needs like an extra hand. That's just what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing like anything in depth. I don't think that there need to be like anything crazy. I think that they're dealing with the aftermath of Margaret and this bomb that she threw in their life in the middle of nowhere. And again, having, it's not like their family, all their families knew. And we know that they're very old school in their morals and values. And so they went through a lot, I'm sure. But I'm just saying that I think she looks maybe like she's trying to be superwoman and she needs some help. Like somebody maybe needs to like get her a nanny or something, like literally help with the kids. 5 kids is a lot of kids. Elderly parents and 5 kids, a lot of kids. I don't know how much staff she has. She doesn't really talk about it because I feel like people got like upset, but we don't ever see a nanny in her house, do we? I don't ever see a nanny in her house. I see her parents. I see her cooking. I don't see a chef. P.S. Real Housewives of Atlanta, a little bit of tea here. Like Teresa Doors, so I don't know, is she like a celebrity chef? Anyway, personal chef did a interview with a blogger because Ralph and Drew are getting divorced, and she was just talking that shit about Drew and how cheap she was. And you guys, I'll have to talk about it in another video. Jennifer is the only person on the show that keeps me laughing. I don't know anyone can think Margaret is funny. She turns my stomach with her nasty comments, and she thinks her comments are foul. Her comments are the comments like that go down in the boys' room amongst men. And that's why they're so raunchy. My biggest concern about the exposure is that her entire extended family was in her house to check in on them. The children were affected. It must have been a lot. I agree. Margaret is not funny. She's vile and calculating. Barbara, Romeo, it's true. Yogo, she's really hurt by being broadcasted throughout the world. I'd never seen a disclaimer before Margaret when Jen told her daughter about the cheating. Bravo said due to sensitive subject. Yeah, it's definitely, it was way, yeah, it was bad. I agree. And Jennifer, she handled it like a G, okay? And this is what I think is going to elevate her, though, and make her a top tier housewife, because this is what made Teresa a top tier housewife, because we invested in Teresa. We invested in Juicy Joe. We invested in the 4 kids. We invested in everything that was going on. We related. We felt bad. We cried. We laughed. I mean, there are still clips to this day that we could play of the Judice girls, and we could cry about when like they're going to prison stuff. It is touching, right? Because we watched them grow up. So when you have a family that allows the cameras to come in like that and really let the audience in, they build a rapport, right? And I think that that is when you look at the housewives that are like OG, triple, best in the biz, they showed it all. They showed it all. And I think that Jennifer is going to be a top tier housewife. I just think that she's still recovering from having last season like thrown on her. And I just think that she has 5 kids and she's busy. She's a mom. You know what I mean? Like Teresa's kids are getting a little bit more independent now. And so is Melissa's kids. And I guess Jennifer's kids are too, but she's 5 of them, damn it. That's a lot. So plus, again, she's married to a doctor. I'm sure Bill works very long hours. I'm sure that he's not home. And I think that's why they fight about the kids, because she makes all the executive decisions herself because he's not there. And then he doesn't like the executive decision she made. But now she's pissed because she's like, listen, I had to make that executive decision by myself because you ain't around. And now you're criticizing my executive decision. Like, if you were here, you could be a part of it, but you're not. So what the F? But I think that she's going to be a great housewife. I just think that she's probably just tired of Marge. That's a lot of beating down. And another thing I want to say, Jen Fessler, she like stood up and like screamed for everyone to be quiet. I was just watching one of the girls from Dallas. She was like talking about filming secrets. And I've heard this many times before. When they do events like this, like they film until something happens. Something has to happen, okay? Like you will sit there for hours until something happens. They put a lot of time and effort and filming crews into these events, into parties, and therefore you guys aren't leaving until something happens. So a lot of times in the franchises, and they've said this before, just like in the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, the women appreciated Lisa Rinna because she moved the storyline and because she wasn't scared to say it and because she didn't make them sit there forever and wait for something to finally pop off, right? Just my opinion. So I feel like Jen Fessler should be happy that her house got filmed and that scene made it in and she got some camera time, and she shouldn't have been yelling at the ladies. Jen does the real thing well. Completely agree. I think she was going to deny it, but in the moment, Margaret was gloating in her face and jeering, and I think it caused Jen to do one of those schoolyard comebacks. Jen did the real thing well. I think this is why Jen got upset and cried and apologized to Bill. She didn't realize she was going to confirm it with Queen style, get your facts right moment. I was a minority and loved Renna. She was great TV. She was supposed to deny it because Bill asked her to before she went on the show, but she accepted it, and now Bill says he felt ambushed. Yeah. I mean, that sucks because she didn't have any warning. She didn't have any time to like think about that moment with Marge. It wasn't like somebody said and filmed a scene with her and said, "Hey, I'm giving you a heads up. Margaret told so and so that Bill cheated on you with the secretary," right? Giving her an opportunity to go home, to discuss it with Bill, to discuss it with her producer, to discuss it with her publicist, to discuss it, and say, okay, let's run this narrative. Let's tell it, but let's tell it this way. Let's do it on our terms. She didn't get a chance to do any of that because it was so explosive, right? That she had to make a quick decision. And you know what? I think she made the right one. We would have found out anyways, and then we would not have trusted her. We're seeing that with Robin Dixon right now. All it would have done would have been trigger the other women to start digging even more to find proof, to try to prove Jennifer wrong, which probably in the end would have been more painful. Would I like to have seen producers and Jennifer and Bill take a moment back, pull back, and really take control of the situation and the narrative again? Yes. I don't know if it's her producers. I don't know if it's overall producers, but I felt like Bill and Jennifer really didn't get a moment to express and have Margaret understand the ramifications of what she did, because she didn't, what's the word I want to use here? It didn't bother her that much when her children found out about her affairs for whatever reason, because they're very open about it, right? I think that one didn't speak to her for a while, or they've made up, or a stepchild, or something along those lines. But to Margaret, that wasn't a very big deal, right? And to Jennifer and Bill, who sort of almost had an arranged marriage, who both come from old school Turkish backgrounds, who Jennifer's talked many times about her mother and her mother being embarrassed and not wanting to share things. And Jennifer's brought that to the cameras and she's been very honest about it. And so I think that it would be like, I don't know, it would be just, it was just a different situation. And Margaret thought because it worked out okay for her and Joe, it would work out for her and Bill almost. Again, their values are very different. Like, Margaret's morals and values and Jennifer's morals and values are very, very, very different. And so that's how I feel about that situation. But I think that Jennifer just, like, again, Bill felt ambushed. So in a moment when Jennifer probably needed the most comfort and reassurance, Bill was stuck in his own emotions because he was pissed about the show and what he was going to have to deal with too, by the ambush. And so then that kind of just leaves Jennifer out to dry, dealing with everything by herself, on top of the kids, on top of her own family probably being pissed off, criticized, and then her kids on top of it. So I would say she probably went into this season emotionally exhausted. Leave her alone. Let her sit back and enjoy her cocktail, Margaret. Like, you done enough to the lady. Let the lady sit back and collect her effing thoughts. Okay? Seriously. I'm just saying, guys, like, you did enough to the lady. Let her have a season and let her just gather herself a little bit instead of screaming across the table at her every scene, every episode, it's just repetitive. I'm tired of Margaret. I'm sorry. And then I was going to call her a liar to people to want her fired for lying, like Robin. Ugh. Barbara says the producers always give Margaret, a good edit. They never showed the real reaction of the kids from the infidelity because it was too much. If they showed it, all the fans would have turned against Marge. And then was going to call her a liar for people to want her fired for lying like Robin D. It's terrible. Jennifer's smart and marches to the beat of her own drum, which is pissing everyone off. Yes, exactly. And that's why I think Jennifer's going to be top tier. I just think that she has dealt with a lot mentally, guys. Please try to picture what that would be like to be outed about something that happened 10 years ago. All of your kids have to find out, all of the neighbors, everyone, and they're all looking to you guys to see how you're reacting, right? Everyone, all of the kids, they're probably watching how Bill and Jennifer are reacting with each other because now they don't know what's going on. My theory is Cohen does white lines with the star. They get a good edit. I love you, Camille. And I agree with you 100%. I even think when Andy Cohen had Lisa Rinna on Watch What Happens Live, not Lisa Rinna, Lisa Vanderpump, I'm sorry. He had Lisa Vanderpump on Watch What Happens Live. And she made some shade towards Kyle and Lisa Rinna. And he was a little pissy about it. Also, she left Dorito out, which I was like, what? Is LVP not mad at Dorito about any of this? Audience needs to know what a snake she is. Oh, guys, I got to show you the pictures. Hold on. Okay, these are going to be the pictures of Melissa and Tamara and Brandy in Vegas. I think I'm in the wrong one. Hold on. They're in Vegas and they're partying, and I don't know what year it is. I think that this is when before Tamara got fired. But you guys will have to tell me what you guys think. But again, I just wanted you to reflect on what type of relationship Melissa and Tamara have had all these years, right? Because I don't know, like if I was a housewife in New Jersey and she was a housewife in Orange County, I'm sure that you would correspond about things, talk about producers. Like you're going to talk, I'm sure, a lot. And if you have an undercover friendship, all the more, right? Let's see here. I go in and try to find these for you guys. Dorito is nobody to LVP. She's not important enough to even throw her name around. Oh, guys, make sure that you check out. I just put it up on Instagram. I'm going to put it up on here too. But I found a photo of, oh my gosh, of Mauricio and Kyle and Dorit on their way to the Oscar viewing party. And guess how they're seated in the car? Guess who's in the back? Kyle. I thought that was really weird. Why didn't Mauricio sit in the back? Why didn't Dorit sit in the back? Why is Kyle sitting in the back and Dorito and Mauricio have the two captain seats? Like, Two's Company, Three's a crowd? Oh, I have other tea for you guys. I forgot. Okay, listen up, guys. Listen up. Jim Leonard, Gorgo's lawyer as well. He came out with them during her music bullshit. Yeah, but you know what she lied about again, Brenda? Remember, she said that Teresa was already in prison and wanted to work with her lawyer. So she said, okay. And the lawyer was the one who talked the sense into Teresa about making up with Melissa and Joe. And that's not true because James Leonard was their attorney before she went to prison. He was Melissa and Joe's attorney, but he was also Teresa's attorney before she went to prison. Okay. First of all, let me screen share with you guys this. Let me share my entire screen. Okay. Now, y'all better not be trying to check my emails. Hold on. Okay. So first Piece of evidence number 1. First of all, Jamie says, Tamara and Teddy are so nasty and backstabbing. I would never trust one of them. The inconsistencies were so much. That's why people spoke so fast so people could not catch it. I need to get along. We'll watch the rest later. Bye, Camille. Thank you for watching and for the super chat. You are so kind and so generous. Okay, guys. I'll try to wrap this up quick, and I'll do another video on the other tea that's about Teresa's engagement party and the Gorgas. Okay. This is Brandy. We've got Brandy. We've got Melissa, and we've got Tamara, and I'm not sure. Do you guys know who that is on the right? I can't really tell who that is. But I want to say this is like 2015-ish, right? Anyone? Then we go back to again 2013, maybe. They're definitely in Vegas, and this is definitely Brandy, and that's a healthy Brandy. That's like a healthy Brandy. I think that's her when she was on the show. What do you guys think? Let me see if I can try to find these pictures somewhere else. I really want to say 2015. Let's see here. Brandy, Glanville, Tamara. Here we go. Let me tell you guys. Let's see the year. Oh, sorry. 2022. So they're not old. Brandy looks good. I'm surprised because Brandy looks really good. And she don't look so good now. Okay, well, 2022 it is on those photos. Now I have some more for you. 1 second. But I don't know if I got them uploaded or not. So we're going to save this for another video because I don't want to keep you guys any longer. I know you guys got to go. So, sorry. You guys know me. I can't help it. Let's look at this one last thing real quick, though. I want to look at this Reddit about the hi, Krista Marie. I didn't get to say hi either. I'm sorry. I saw you come in. I didn't get a chance to say hi. Let's go back to this real quick. Monica Shahan, likely individual who tipped Teresa and Joe off to the federal government. People, of course, talk about the $100,000 in cash that she used to buy the furniture. It says also Caroline was married to the mob. She ain't turning into a narc even on Teresa. So I love that comment because that was my exact comment that if you're connected, you're not going to go to the police and turn somebody in because that's not what people that are connected do. They don't usually go to the police. Let's see here. Dolores. Huh. Not a lot here. This says, I love Margaret a lot, but I think her sitting Jennifer down and saying this is a business event as to why there can't be no drama is a little laughable when she and her husband threw Marty in the pool at Jennifer's event that they held for Bill's clients. Because Trey claimed in an interview just a few months ago that Caroline went to the feds despite Monica chasing being public about it years ago. It is mind-boggling that she has such an axe to grind all these years later. I don't know about that. See, a lot of people are not familiar with this Monica character. It does say, I Googled abroad, an article from 2013 came up and said she's working with the Fed, so it's clearly nothing new, and nor do I think she's the reason everything happened to Teresa and her family. Again, guys, I talk about the fact, okay, Monica, she shows up in season 3 at Kim G's surprise birthday party. Guess, because what people didn't know was when she shows up at the Christmas party, Teresa and her had already had a confrontation earlier that day at the courthouse, something like that. But we didn't see that at all. So we didn't know that that had happened. But that's that on that. So let me just get on out of here. Okay, guys. And then I think that's all I wanted to cover. All I really had left on here. Of course, like I said, Tamara and Teddy kind of going for Margaret and saying she doesn't have a lot going on. Her and Jennifer are both pot stirrers. Melissa says, you know, yes, but Jennifer's a snake about it. Margaret's just moving it along because she doesn't have anything going on in her personal life. And I don't know. Also, again, guys, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen, what we're gonna be seeing, but I'm gonna wrap this up. I have had a great time with you guys today. I'm glad we got to talk a lot about this. My next video, I'm gonna bring up some information on the sissies. Nothing bad, just introduce, like a little introduction for everyone who may be new to the Real Housewives of New Jersey, or maybe don't know the sisters, or you know, whatever. We're gonna talk about them nicely, not in a bad terrible way. We're just gonna introduce them to the audience. So make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, turn your notifications on. A great free way to keep my channel going is to hit the like button. Thank you guys for your super chat. Thank you, Camille. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Krista. You guys are all amazing for supporting me, and I hope all of you have a great Monday.